paper sitting there, do I? Welcome to Daryl's Little Corner. We'll be with you every Monday at 7 o'clock. If you get busy and you miss something you need to know, or maybe you didn't hear it good or not sure you heard it right, because this is important, we'll be played one more time Thursday at noon. And if you have a problem with finding that, if you're electronic, it'll be online. Now, I usually share it to my Facebook page. You can find it in Mississippi News or Sports. Sometimes it's in, I believe it's supposed to be in Mississippi News, but sometimes it's in the Sports. In the studio with me tonight is Dallas Lumpkin. Yeah, you look in his uniform, I know, and you try to figure out who in the world. I know, because I didn't know him either. I thought I knew everybody, but I didn't know him. And some of you are saying, oh, well, look there, there's Dallas. And then some of you are saying, I don't know him either, lady. Some of you might be saying, I don't know you either. Who knows? But Dallas has a lot to talk about. Tell us why you're here.
Well, I'm currently in the running for the office of sheriff here in Tippah County. I've lived here my entire life, and I'd really like to have a chance to serve this community the way I've served others around here.
Yes. And I've already told him that they shoot at them people. Didn't discourage him a bit. Dallas, where are you from?
I'm from Tippah County. I went to Faulkner High School, Faulkner Elementary, my entire
Really?
life. Yes, ma'am.
Not bad.
Went to college over there in Booneville. After that, I bought a house over there and worked over at the Prentiss County Sheriff's Department for several years and decided I was ready to come back home. So I'm living over here at Tippah Lake now.
Really?
Yes, ma'am.
Huh, my neighbor. All right, who's your parents?
My father is Kenny Young. He's from Benton County, and my mother is Elena Lumpkin. She went to Faulkner as well.
Everybody always wants to know. They always want to know. We won't vote for anybody until we figure out who they are. That's just the way we do in Tippah County. Tell us why you're qualified for this office.
I've spent my entire life almost in public service as an adult. I went to the military straight out of high school. Had a couple of medical issues, so I got home early from that. Worked in the jail over at Prentiss County. I've worked as a jailer, a dispatcher, a road deputy, and I've got investigator experience as well.
Really?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, I didn't know that. This office really seems dangerous to me.
Yes, ma'am.
Police are not really respected like they used to be.
No, ma'am. It's a shame.
It is. It is, and I think what it is here is things that are done way away from here are all over TV.
Mm-hmm.
And we
That's
get
exactly
credit
what it
for it. I'm not really sure that there's that much corruption here.
Mm-mm.
Or maybe I'm crazy, but I don't think it is. I don't know. I think we're just living in a good little town.
Yes, ma'am.
I really do. But we have had our instances. You know, we've had a policeman killed. We've had, I mean, there's been tragedy here too.
Yes, ma'am. There certainly has.
It's not Bayberry anymore. But I do think it's a shame that, you know, when I grew up, when we saw a policeman, of course, my dad worked part-time at police department.
Okay.
He did the school crosses. That wasn't shooting at him. He put his gun in the trunk of the car so us kids wouldn't find it. But I think I probably grew up in a little town that was like Mayberry.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And when you saw a policeman, you thought, he'll help me.
Mm-hmm.
But people don't think that anymore.
No, ma'am.
They don't. And I do think that things that happen off from here somewhere else affect how people here feel.
Yes, ma'am. They absolutely do with the media saturation the way it is now. I mean, you can't go 5 minutes through your day without seeing a screen, something
That's
terrible
right.
going on.
That's right. And everything you do is on film.
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
And they make it look, they talk it like it's worse than it was sometimes, and sometimes not.
Yes, ma'am.
But But I would like to know what kind of changes that you're interested in making.
Well, to hit on the issue with respect and the way the policemen are viewed nowadays, instead of shying away from the world we live in now, I think it's important that we embrace it because it's just how it is. It's not going anywhere. I mean, screens are going to be here, forever now. So, something that I would like to see changed. I really think that social media and stuff is an important tool that law enforcement can use in the community now. You can contact pretty much your entire population because I mean everybody has Facebook now. So I mean, anytime you have an issue with somebody that's on the run or in a certain area that's dangerous, or you're looking for somebody, what a lot of departments around here do, and they post it on social media, and they don't do that here. And I think that could be an excellent tool to help with that.
It would. It would. Uh, Years ago, we heard of people who died in the jails.
Mhm.
What would you do to prevent that?
Oversight, it's a big thing. There really needs to be a more clear, way things work. The community needs to be involved in that as well. Everybody deserves to be treated with respect. Not saying that they're not here, but that just nobody really knows what goes on in there, and I think it's
Don't know.
important.
Don't know why, we just know
Yes,
that
ma'am.
it happens.
Yes, ma'am. And I think that the department should really be more open about that because it all falls under the authority of the sheriff. What's released to the public and what's shared is completely up to him.
Oh, really?
Yes, ma'am. And I think it's important to be open with the public about what goes on in the jail.
We were discussing visiting hours. The visiting hours at the jail are church time.
Yes, ma'am.
Something needs to be done about that.
Yes, ma'am. I agree with that 100%. Visiting hours should, or church hours should ideally be at a time when nothing else is really going on. In my mind, I think Sunday evening is probably the best time for church hours in the jail when nothing else is going on. Or if that's when the visiting hours are, I mean, you can always schedule that at other times. I mean, that's completely under the authority of the sheriff to do.
It's really discourages jail ministers when they have to stay out of church
Mhm.
in order to go minister at the jail.
Yes, ma'am.
Because it just doesn't make sense.
Yes, ma'am.
And what else have you got going to help these prisoners?
Exactly.
I know you house them, you feed them, you give them stuff to do, but truthfully, that's our help.
Yes, ma'am.
That's just our help. Um, do you think, oh, I'm going to get you in trouble here. Do you think there's more problems with drinking since Ripley went wet?
Well, anytime that you allow something uninhibited, it's certainly going to increase like that. So I think so. I think that allowing alcohol to be sold in the town is obviously going to cause more people to drink.
Well, now the county's dry. Does
Yes,
that
ma'am.
make sense?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Okay, if the county is dry, tell me how that works.
Well, the city municipality, the way the state law here works, a municipality can vote to have alcohol sales because it's just falls under the authority of the municipal government as opposed
So
to
if
the
I
county.
decide I want to get drunk, I have to go town to do it.
Yes, ma'am.
Stay in town.
Yes, ma'am. And a
If
new
you
law
catch them going through the county,
a new law that was signed into law by Tate Reeves, I believe, just a couple of years ago, actually allows the transport of alcohol through a dry county. I believe as long as you're on a state highway, you are allowed to transport alcohol to a private residence or anywhere else, as long as it's not open or anything like that. DUI, of course, is still illegal, but that's actually a new thing.
we used to see a lot of roadblocks and they check your license. You don't hardly see that anymore.
Yes, ma'am.
Is it a thing of the past?
Well, I certainly hope not. Safety checkpoints are an incredible tool to catch drunk drivers, people transporting narcotics, and other things such as that. It's an invaluable tool to have safety checkpoints on the highway and on the county roads.
Crazy people who did not get their tag done.
Yes, ma'am.
After my husband died, I didn't even consider it. And I got stopped. I didn't let him have tag. He was so nice. He said, "Ma'am, do you have another tag?" I said, "No." I was right by the house, and I had no idea my tag was out.
Oh, gosh.
I was so embarrassed. I really was, but he was so nice, so nice. So I don't know, but that's one thing. You don't count on a card.
Mhm.
I didn't count on a card. I didn't even think about my husband died, and I didn't even think about it.
Yes, ma'am.
But it just happened.
Yes, ma'am.
So I thought, I can't believe I did that. We're not seeing, truly, we're not seeing beer cans up and down the roads anymore. Is somebody cleaning them up, or are they not happening?
I'm not sure. I haven't seen any inmates out cleaning up the highways or anything, so maybe somebody else is doing it. I'm not sure.
I don't know. That's something I was going to ask you later.
Mhm.
What happened to the programs where the inmates got out and cleaned up? I mean, now I realize we paid them a little for it, but I mean, really,
Yes, ma'am.
it's better than them just sitting in that cell all day.
I agree.
And they worked their fine off. But I mean, really, we're already housing and feeding them,
Yes, ma'am.
making it hard on the taxpayer.
Yes, ma'am. I'm really not sure.
I don't know.
I don't know if it went away with COVID, but I couldn't even tell you the last time I saw a work crew out picking up garbage on the side of the road. But that is something that I would love to re-implement as a work program. I think that it's good for the inmates to be able to get out in the sun and do stuff that not just sitting in a concrete room all day, and doing something productive for the community as well.
I don't think it should be, if you want to, I think it should be required.
I agree. Yes, ma'am.
I think now I have a son. You come out like one of my kids up, I don't want him petted. I want you to be tough enough. Now, I don't want you to beat the daylights out of him.
Yes, ma'am.
But I mean, I want him to be miserable enough that he's not going to want to come back.
Yes, ma'am. It's an important deterrent.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want, some people, if they get out, they do something to get back in.
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, I think sometimes we're too soft.
I agree.
Maybe I just think that, but I think it, As a grandmother, I'm very concerned about the drug scene. We used to hear about a war on drugs. Is that gone away, or did we lose?
Well, it's a losing battle, but it's still one that should be fought no matter what. I know a lot of federal dollars anymore. It's just sort of falling by the wayside, I believe.
Drugs are a huge problem here. I went to a recovery meeting. I thought I could do something, and I didn't see anything I needed to do. They were doing great without me. But I went one time to see if there was anything I could do. And no, honestly, the place was full. Drugs are everywhere now.
They are.
And, my generation, we don't realize it. That's the problem.
Yes, ma'am.
What is your position on drug court?
I think that drug court is an excellent tool. It's one of the better things I've seen come around in the past few years, and they're really trying to ramp it up, I believe. It's one of the few things I've seen that will actually get these people sober and stay sober. They were sending them to prison for it, but, I mean, it's easier to get drugs in prison down south than it is out here on the road almost. And drug court really gives them an incentive to, get clean and stay clean.
We have a couple at our church that is like, I think it's 9 years.
Yes, ma'am.
Just they're a wonderful
Yes,
Christian
ma'am.
little couple, and they when they testify, they say they met at drug court.
Yes, drug court is an incredible tool.
It works.
It does.
And I realize that not everybody gets clean, not success with everybody. You got to want to do it.
Yes, ma'am.
If you don't want to do it bad enough, well, you can't make them.
Yes, ma'am. You can hound them every day, all day, and spend $10 million sending them to rehab, but until they, want to do better, they're just not going to.
That's right. As a grandmother, tell me how I can know if my grandchild has a problem. What do we look for?
Well, one of the biggest signs is, things going missing around your house, stuff coming up stolen. It's one of the bigger things that they do is they'll steal just small stuff here and there, take $20 out of your purse and stuff like that.
Okay, what can I do to help my grandchild and not enable them?
Well, if you've established that there is an issue, I'm a big proponent of tough love. If you're not gonna do drugs in my house, if you want to do drugs and I can't stop you, then you're just gonna have to find somewhere else to go.
They're not going to admit they're doing it.
Yes, ma'am.
No matter what you do, they're not going to admit it. Don't give them money.
Absolutely. If they're hungry, you can feed them, clothe them, but don't buy them valuables, electronics, and do not give them cash. That's the biggest thing. That they may be hungry and hadn't eaten in 3 days, but if you give them money, they're still just
They're
going to
not
go.
going to eat. Not going to happen.
No, ma'am.
Another thing, they will party on their money, and then it's a dire need. I can't pay my light bill. They're going to cut my lights off. And they really do bleed these grandparents dry. And of course, being a grandparent, well, that's that little baby that I rocked in my lap. No,
Yes,
no, they couldn't be doing that.
Yes, ma'am.
I hated everybody else's are, but mine's not.
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, you've got to be aware.
Yes, ma'am. That's the biggest thing.
That's sad, but we do. It's the world we live in. It's not like on a TV show. No. And really, what we see on TV is mostly what grandparents know about drugs.
Yes, ma'am. That's pretty
Don't
much
have
it.
a clue. Don't have a clue. Don't have a clue. And what's on TV is not real. But we want to protect our loved ones. What precautions? I mean, simple stuff like lock your medicine up.
Yes, lock your medicine, hide it if you can. Just secure your valuables if you think that somebody's around that does have a problem. Obviously, keep your door locked at night, stuff like that.
Deadbolt lock.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. And I'm a big fan of security cameras as well.
I put security cameras at my trailer after it was broke in 3 times, and it's never been broken again.
It's it's not going to stop somebody from breaking in, but it'll sure help you get your stuff back at least, and we can identify who it is.
It does stop them because they don't want to be seen and got.
Mhm.
Sometimes it does.
Yes, ma'am.
No, but and they stole stupid stuff. A laptop that didn't work anymore.
Yes, ma'am.
A jug full of pennies when there was paper money laying in a drawer.
Well, a lot of times when they do break in like that, they're just in a rush and they're grabbing the first thing they see that might be valuable. They may not know that the laptop didn't work, but it was there and they could grab it quick and get out of there.
I'll tell you this little thing I did. It's terrible. My first husband was terribly sick.
Yes, ma'am.
He was on dialysis. He took a lot of pills. He had that neuropathy in the legs that it causes and horrible pain. And back then they gave him pain pills 90 at a time. And I got to noticing that they weren't gone, but they were just less and less of them. Somebody was taking them. So I had some capsules that he couldn't take. They told me not to give him any more of them. And I went to the drugstore and I got one of those little bags that they put your medicine in when you buy it. And I went up to the tobacco store and I bought snuff. I dumped that junk out and I took a pair of tweezers and I stuffed that in my pills.
That's a smart way to handle that.
I put them on the dresser, and a few of them did disappear. Nobody said a word, but that was the end of that problem.
I believe it.
I finished
Yes,
it.
ma'am.
I finished it. Mean, that was just mean. Okay, if you hear a prowler, what do you do?
Call the sheriff's department, 911. For
Well,
sure.
live in the country. Out in the county.
Yes, ma'am. Well, I would still call the sheriff's
You'll
department,
be
but
shot time you get there.
well, that's what I was going to go into next. Definitely call the sheriff's department if you think there's somebody out there. But the realistic thing is, this is a large county. If you've got both of the deputies on call in one corner, it may be 45 minutes driving lights and sirens before they can get to you if you're on the other end of the county. That's just one thing that people need to be aware of when you live that far out. Emergency services may take a little bit longer to get there. Definitely keep a firearm in your home to defend yourself.
Motion lights.
Motion lights, yes, that's a big thing.
Yeah. Okay. Easier solution. I don't want to shoot nobody.
Yes, ma'am. Well, I don't
won't
think
shoot
anybody
nobody.
does.
Mash that red button on that key fob.
That's right. That's right. That'll
Scare them off.
absolutely scares them. Yes, ma'am.
When you turn the lights on, somehow thieves and stuff, they're like bugs. They're gone. I've done that. And I would rather use a wasp spray, or we used to get that pepper spray, but
Yes,
I
ma'am.
sprayed my hand one time.
Yes,
Did you ever
ma'am.
spray your hand with that?
I've been
No
sprayed in the
fun.
eyes with it. It's rough.
No fun, no fun, no fun. My hand burned for days.
Mm-hmm.
Between the fingers, the more I washed, the worse it was.
That's how it is. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, that is inhuman treatment. Wasp spray. That wasp and hort spray will squirt 25 feet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's incredibly effective at a
I
distance.
try to keep that, and really, nobody bothers me.
Mm-hmm.
But then nobody broke in my trailer till they did.
That's right.
Who knows?
Yes, ma'am.
So, but no, I'm not big on I've got a gun, but I'm not big on that.
Yes, ma'am. Well, nobody, I think, wants to shoot or harm anybody if they don't have to. But at the end of the day, your life and your home is more important than anybody's trying to break in there.
After they broke in my trailer 3 times, I bought a gun.
Mm-hmm.
I saw Ken Rainey. He told me, he showed me how to load it. He said, put this on the other pillow on your bed.
Mm-hmm.
My husband was dead. I thought, yeah, and if I roll over, shoot myself. I'm just not a big gun fan.
Yes, ma'am.
Not a lot of people are. So I hid my gun, and I put it in one place, and I put the bullets in another place in case one of the grandkids come up. I didn't want one of the grandkids to shoot each other.
Yes, ma'am.
And I got to thinking, if somebody was messing with that door, and I take that gun, and I shoot out there, not, thinking I'm going to shoot over their head, I might accidentally hit somebody, which I'd hate that.
Yes, ma'am.
That might be one of my grandkids coming to check on me.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the end of the gun thing.
Yes, ma'am.
I bought a can of wasp spray.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm bad. I know all these rules, but I don't necessarily go by them. What, now we've talked about using inmates to clean up the trash on the roads. Would you have them in some kind of a distinctive outfit or something where they don't get run over?
Oh, yes, ma'am. High visibility.
Mm-hmm.
Something that says inmate, Tippah County inmate on it, so that they're easily identifiable.
Well, people fuss about, them laying around in the cell doing nothing. They say they watch color TV, but I doubt that. You hear all kind of stuff. But now I do think that we need to get back to more jail ministry and, try to do something to help besides just lock them away.
Yes, ma'am. I agree.
But don't beat my kid up, but don't make him too comfortable either.
Yes, ma'am.
Don't want him to stay there. Tell us why in particular we should vote for you. There's 3 people running.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell us what you've got that the others don't.
Well, I don't know all the roles that Sheriff Gillard has fulfilled in his career, but I've been in just about all of them since I've been doing it. I'm not sure about Mr. Hogue either, but I have experience in almost every area in law enforcement: dispatch, jail, investigations, patrol, everything that we have here, anyways. Um, I'm very technologically savvy. There's a lot of resources that I know are available electronically that I don't believe are being utilized as well as they should be here. Um,
Okay, on jail ministry, tell us how you go about that now. I mean, in the old jail, they used to lock you in with the prisoners.
Mhm.
Now, what do you do now?
Well, I'm not sure how they do it here, but you would definitely still have to be in a secure part of the jail, at least open. I'm not sure if they have like a law library here or not, where it's got a large window where you're able to be supervised. But that you would
Well, I
still have,
hope so.
yeah, I would hope so as well. But you would definitely still have to be in a secure part of the jail.
I have a friend that does jail ministry, and I was told that the women do the women and men do the men. I think that's a good thing.
Yes, absolutely. That's how
That's
it
a
has to
good
be.
thing.
Yes, ma'am.
And if you're interested in doing jail ministry, we're interested in you doing it. But you really need to check into it and kind of know what you're getting into.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, it's not as simple as it sounds. It sounds like I'll just go up there and, just set the world on fire. I don't like that. Not at all like that. Mm-mm. No. And now as sheriff, you do roadblocks. You stand out. They stand out in the rain and the snow.
Yes, ma'am.
Sheriffing don't sound like so much fun to me.
It's a calling for sure. It's
You
something
gotta
that's
be
got to be inside you.
dedicated.
Yes, ma'am.
Have to be dedicated. Yeah. Uh, you're called to all kind of things. When you go out, you don't have any idea what you're walking into.
Mhm.
That's something I've thought about that since I talked to you.
Yes, ma'am.
I thought about that, and I don't know that some situations are really difficult.
They are.
People don't want to go to jail.
Mm-mm.
You got some that do, but you got a lot that don't go willingly.
Yes, ma'am.
And I don't know, it's this sleepy little town here, but still there's some folks that just not willing to, just 'cause you say, come on, we gotta go downtown, don't mean they're gonna go.
That's right.
What do you do next?
You just got to do what you got to do. It's the safety of the community is paramount. Um, Another big thing that I would like to see that they don't do here is body cameras. I think that that's a really important thing.
Yes.
It's definitely an asset, and it protects you from all kind of false allegations. And you know, God forbid something like a situation you're describing happens. There's a
Yes.
clear record of what exactly happened, and there's no question about who's right and who's wrong.
We should already had that.
We should.
I thought we did.
Not at the county. The police department does, but the sheriff's department doesn't. And that would
Yeah.
definitely be one of my day one priorities is looking into getting that.
How many deputies you got?
I'm not sure the number of deputies here. I want to say around 8 or 9 maybe.
It's a big county.
Yes, ma'am.
Big county. And each officer has a different level of what they're supposed to do. I mean, like the constable is not the same as a deputy, is it?
No, the constable is an elected position. They may fall under the sheriff's department for administrative purposes, but they're not employee of the sheriff's department. They're an elected official.
Well, I was thinking they more deliver papers.
Yes, ma'am.
And stuff.
Serve papers and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Yes, ma'am.
I don't think all of us know exactly how that stuff works.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, if, let's say, your grandchild has drugs hid in your house and you don't know it. All right, they get out and show off till the police becomes aware of it, and they come search the house.
Yes, ma'am.
One thing, come search my house, you put my stuff back where it goes.
Yes, ma'am.
Don't tear my house
There's
up.
no reason to disrespect people's property.
Okay, can the grandparent or parent lose their property over this that they didn't even know about?
No, I don't think that's really a big thing anymore. Civil asset forfeiture was really big maybe a decade ago, but nobody's going to take your house because they found a little bit of narcotics in there that obviously you're not using. Yes, ma'am.
Well, it would be, well, they're not, I'll just tell you, these kids ain't gonna come tell grandma.
Mm.
No, no, they're not gonna come tell you that they're hiding junk in your house
No,
or your
ma'am.
car either.
Mm-mm.
Now, years ago, my first husband, he worked on cars. He was always messing with a car. And he'd always mess up the air conditioner.
Mhm.
First thing, never had a car with air conditioner. So he drives his car to work, and he rolls the windows down where he can stand to drive it back home
Mhm.
in the afternoon. And one day I was cleaning the car out, and there was this little plastic bag. It had a stick and some crunched up brown leaves in it.
Mhm.
I had no idea. I don't know why I thought that was a problem. Why I had to throw it in garbage.
Yes, ma'am.
But I was working for Ann Malone, and Van was mayor at the time.
Mhm.
I was working for Ann View Shop. And I don't know, I stuck that in my purse. If I got caught with it in my purse, I'd have been in trouble. I was like, how dumb could I be? And I carried it to Van. And I told him, I said, you wouldn't get me in trouble, would you? And he said, no, if I could help it. And I gave it to him, and he said, I'll let you know. I said, I don't want it.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, trash to me. And in a few days, he walked through, and he walked through the beauty shop, and he said, Daryl, you could have made some money. I said, jail time. But I had no idea. So many times, somebody like my age, well, know what that stuff looks like.
Mhm.
I had a friend that found a pretty plant down in the ditch and put it in their garden, and it was marijuana.
Yes, ma'am.
She fixed a pie for one of the officials in her town, and they spotted it. She said she never seen so many blue lights in her life. She thought she was going to jail. She didn't know what it was.
Yes, ma'am.
I've tried for years to get an officer, city, county, state, anybody, to come and do us a program on drug prevention.
Mhm.
I don't want them to tell how to do it. I want them to tell us how
Identify.
to know not to do it.
Yes, ma'am. I agree. I think that would be a great idea.
When you get elected, I want you to come do that.
I'll absolutely do that for you, Miss Judy.
Because we don't have a clue.
Yes, ma'am.
I remember one time I went to a junk store and I bought this pretty little glass thing.
Mhm.
This has been years ago. A little glass thing. It looked like a little picture with a little sunk-in place on the side. It was cute. It was green. It looked kind of like depression glass.
Mhm.
I was so proud of that thing. All of my church friends coming in and out. Yep. Then we went to the school one day, and they had a table with paraphernalia.
Mhm.
There sat my little pot. I was embarrassed my life.
Yes, ma'am.
I had all the preachers coming over. I was church hostess that year. Oh, Lord have mercy. They probably thought, what's that church coming to? But I mean, we don't have a clue.
Yes, ma'am.
We see what we see on TV. They say it looks like powdered sugar.
Mhm.
And, what would you do with the stuff? I don't know, and I don't want to know what to do with it.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to know if I find it, to get rid of. And don't put it in your purse.
That's right. That's right. Yes, ma'am. And that's
What do you actually do if you find it?
just try to keep it away from, if a kid or a small animal could get to it or something like that. Just try to secure it and call the sheriff's department. That's something that, I did over at Prentice County. We would get called all the time, and we would come and take possession of it, and we would send it off to be destroyed.
My friend Mark Bowers was telling us that they had a service, and people came to the altar and laid drugs on the altar, and they had to call the law to come get them.
The drugs?
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
At least he was smart enough to know to do it.
Yeah.
I wasn't.
Yeah.
I wasn't.
Yes, ma'am.
I was not. I would have a clue. But he said they had to call the law to come get the drugs, get rid of them.
Yes, ma'am, and they will. That's something that we can do is have them destroyed.
But I had worried about if somebody, like, had, of course, if they'd found them in my purse, I guess I'd been in jail.
Mhm.
I was just dumb as dirt.
Well, I mean, surely they would have more sense
Well, I was
than
young
that.
back then.
Oh,
and,
okay.
You know,
Yes, ma'am.
I was in my 30s. Well, people in their 30s.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Over
that,
drugs.
that could have been bad.
Yeah. But I never gave it a thought. You know, I was just trying to get it where I knew Van.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, it was the mayor, and I knew him. I trusted him. Sometimes we trust too much, don't we? I guess I should have called them to come out there.
Well, I mean, if you've never
But what
seen
if
it
it
before.
was a tree leaf? I don't know.
Yes, ma'am. Well, I mean, somebody that has never seen anything like that before, they wouldn't even, think about it like that.
I didn't have a clue. No, it looked like you know, the tree leaves when they turn brown and crumble up. That's what it looked like.
Yes, ma'am.
I thought, oh no. And I've had the thought he might have been aggravating me when he said it was. I don't know. Don't know. But that's my total drug experience. I don't know anything about drugs.
Yes, ma'am.
Don't want to learn either, but I want to learn how to protect myself against it.
Yes, ma'am. It's something that everybody should be aware of and know how to do.
And if somebody plants it on you, you need to be able to recognize it where, you know, to get rid of it,
Yes, ma'am.
because I don't have a clue. I found a needle on my place one time. Of course, I got a beauty shop. It's public, you know. I found a needle out in the swing. And I don't know whether it was a problem or maybe somebody was diabetic. I don't know.
Well, I think generally people with diabetes are more conscious about leaving needles like that.
I would think.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know. I don't know. I just know I found one out there. Wasn't in the trash. But you got to dispose of them things where somebody can't get stabbed with them. It's kind of a nuisance.
It
you know.
is.
But another thing that plagues our elderly is scams.
Yes, ma'am. That's
It seems like we fall for stuff.
well, it's just the trust in nature of the older generation. I think that makes them, so easy to fall prey to it. And unfortunately, the majority of these scams are coming out of third world countries like India and other places like that. So it's impossible to prosecute almost at a law enforcement level. So again, that falls back to the, being open and transparent with the public and, informing the public of these things and how to spot when somebody's trying to scam you. And just be aware of that.
We need tough. We need to know that, and we don't.
Yes, ma'am.
Because it's always the sweet little person wouldn't do that, But they do.
Yes, ma'am.
They do. I had a friend that got beat out of everything she had. And when she died, she didn't even have her own home
Yes, ma'am.
because she got beat out of it. We need to be aware that all that glitters is not gold.
That's right.
And what would you look for to realize something was not real?
The biggest thing that I've seen recently is somebody will call pretending to be local law enforcement or the IRS or Amazon or something like that, and a lot of times what they'll do is try to get you to go and buy gift cards and send them the codes. Nobody will ever, ever, ever that's legitimate ask you to go and buy a gift card as a form of payment for back taxes or anything like that. That's not how the government operates. That's not how anybody that's not trying to scam you operates.
My aunt in Missouri is going to be 100 in June.
Yes, ma'am.
And I got a text from her that she tried to order something and she needed a $150 Amazon gift card. Well, I knew Aunt Ethel. I just knew her. So I called her. And she said, quick as I said gift card, she said it's a scam. But my cousin Debbie, because it was Aunt Ethel, and she sent the gift card.
Yes, ma'am.
You were supposed to send it to this name that I never heard of, because she wanted to make a gift to them, but for some reason she couldn't get it to go through her bank.
Mhm.
And you're to make it from her to this other person.
Yes, ma'am.
And Debbie did that. She lost $150.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, 'cause she didn't call in Ethel.
Yes, ma'am. The gift cards, that's the biggest one. Another one that they target the elderly people with, especially, they'll call and say that there's a relative out of state or something. Maybe your grandson that's out of state for school has been in a wreck or has been arrested, and they're wanting you to send them money for that too. That's another big one that I know of.
Well, do people not call?
They just get in a panic. If they hear that their loved one's in a hospital somewhere and they need you now, then that's just all that's going through their head at the time. And I mean, everybody's so trusting. Nobody wants to think that somebody's trying to beat them out of something, and they just end up getting scammed, losing a ton of
Oh,
money.
I'm on the other end of that. I got a call that my daughter was dead, and I thought it was a Facebook scam. I thought it was a lie. I called the sheriff's department.
Sorry to hear that.
Sure did. And it was right after Christmas. And the man was very nice, and he said that they had not run her license through, and I thought, I knew it wasn't so, it couldn't be. But then he described her car.
Yes, ma'am.
And it was her. But people fall for stuff. They don't call.
Yes, ma'am.
Call and check. Just don't take stuff at face value.
That's right. Yes, ma'am.
But in our generation, we did.
Mhm.
When somebody shook your hand and said, I borrowed $500, and on a handshake, they paid you back.
That's right.
Now they laugh all the way out on the road.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know. It's a different world.
It is.
It's so sad, but it's a different world, and you have to protect yourself. Because, you can only do so much, and after a while, you run out.
Yes, ma'am.
You just do till there's nothing left. But I really do hope you get sheriff.
I appreciate that.
And you don't forget, I want you to come back and do me a program on not how to do drugs. Don't want to do that.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to do how to stay away from them.
Yes, ma'am. Well, I certainly will.
I wanted to do it for years and years. And don't let strangers in your house. I'm trying to think I'm trying to think what we can tell them that'll protect people.
Yes, ma'am.
Don't let strangers in your house. One time this guy came to my house, and he had on a shirt from, it's not Back South, it's the one that was in the doctor's building up there.
Dixie Net?
Yeah. He had on a shirt that said Dixie Net on it.
Mhm.
And he said he was working for the electric company, and I thought that don't add up. It don't. My husband let him in the house. He did. He checked a plug-in. I went in the other room. I called the electric company. Sure enough, he was working for them. Tate said, "Now, Daryl, I told you it was okay." But it doesn't hurt to check.
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, you don't know. Somebody comes in your house, what they're looking for, that they might come back while you're going to church,
Yes, ma'am.
or while you're going to the grocery store. I mean, my son told me when I bought that gun that time, he said, "Mom, you don't need a gun." I said, "They're not going to come while you're home. They where you're going."
Well, it just depends. It depends on what they're after.
Well, apparently they was after pennies, because they took a big old jug of pennies.
Yes, ma'am.
Doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
The people that steal, they don't make good sense.
I don't understand it
know.
myself.
Doesn't make sense. They steal the oddest stuff. I don't know.
Yes,
But
ma'am.
now, maybe they pawn it or something. I don't know what they do with it.
It usually goes to pawn shops most of the time, if it's for drugs, because they can pawn it off, and they don't get a tenth of what it's actually worth, but it's enough to get them high one more time. So.
Well, what they stole from me wasn't worth much. It was wore out.
Yes, ma'am.
Everything but the pennies. That's terrible. It made me madder that they took the jug. It was a glass jug that, like they put on water coolers. They're plastic now.
Yes, ma'am.
It was an old glass one, and it bothered me more that they took my jug than the money.
Yes,
That was
ma'am.
pennies. And, that you can't get those jugs anymore.
Mm-mm.
It's crazy. But it doesn't make good sense.
It doesn't.
It just doesn't. But we're gonna see roadblocks again
Yes, ma'am.
and prisoners cleaning up the road.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
Tell us, is there anything else that you see that needs changed?
Um, Again, just the image of the department as a whole. There hasn't been just a whole lot around here other than just the stuff going on everywhere in the media. But trust has to be rebuilt.
I agree.
There needs to be, public inspection, not inspection really, but just the public needs to be aware of the stuff that's going on, and I plan to be a completely open and transparent department. I'll put my personal cell phone number out for anybody that wants to call me. I'll answer any question that I can. The public should be aware of what's going on, and the image of professionalism really needs to be
Yes.
restored.
That's right.
Yes, ma'am.
It really is sad that they don't have the respect for the law that they should.
Yes, ma'am.
And I do think body cams would help a lot of that.
It is body cameras, and those should be open to public records requests too. It's a huge thing, and I plan on day one trying to get the ball rolling on that. It's not something that I can go and buy on day one because it's an expensive system,
Oh,
and
yeah.
data storage is expensive, so it'll take a little while. But day one, I would plan on getting that started, getting the process started.
Yeah, I mean, it protects the officer and it protects the people.
It does.
It just makes good sense.
It does, and there's no reason not to have it at this point in time.
A dash cam would help.
Dash cameras.
Anything.
Yes, ma'am.
Anything. Now, they're not that expensive.
Mm-mm.
I mean, sometimes you just do what you can do.
Yes, ma'am.
But that's Dallas Lumpkin. When's the election?
I believe it's August 6th or August 8th. Everybody this year is running Republican, so the election will be decided in August and not November.
8th. Yeah, I think I read on Facebook it's the 8th.
Yes, ma'am.
So, I didn't realize that.
There's not a single person running for office that's running as a Democrat this time.
Nobody in Mississippi wants to be called Democrat. That's so bad. And used to, everybody was.
Used to, you wouldn't get elected if you didn't run Democrat.
Things change. Things just change. Okay, tell us again why you're running for sheriff, aside from getting shot at.
I have the experience and the education that makes me capable of fulfilling the roles of the office. I really think that I can do some good in this county. I've served several communities. I've worked at Ripley Police Department some as well, not for a very long time, but I've done a lot of good work, and I think that I can do some good here. I think there are several key changes I can make that would really restore trust in the profession in this area.
And you live out by Tippah Lake.
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Okay. Dallas Lumpkin. Remember the name, write it down. If you're ready for a change, write the name down, Dallas Lumpkin. And sometimes folks don't go vote on that first election.
It's they really don't because it's just the primary and nobody really thinks to go. But there's not going to be a November election this time because there's nobody running as a Democrat. So
So the election is the 8th.
Yes, ma'am.
8th August. Don't forget that. Because it just, if you don't speak up and you don't voice your opinion, you don't go vote, don't gripe. Because whatever they do, I mean, we sit by and let them. Got to go to the polls and vote. That we got to do. We got to make an effort. And it's, I don't know, used to you couldn't beat people away from the polls. But folks don't get out and vote anymore. The older people, I can understand that, they're getting not able.
Well, it's generally, I think, the older people that do go. I think there's a big problem with youth turnout. Young people just They don't
think-
care.
They think it's just gonna happen.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, the older folks, I guess, but now a lot of these older folks are not able.
Mhm.
But I think they do absentee.
Yes, ma'am. We do absentee, I believe.
Now, I know, used to somebody would come and help you if you weren't able. I know sometimes even the courthouse is that long. Never had that problem till I got to have a walking problem.
Mhm.
But, you know, it's a lot of steps, and then they built those ramps, but that's a long ramp up there.
Yes, ma'am.
Sometimes people need help. They
I agree.
do. We're not, we're handicap accessible, but not as much as we need to be. But I know a little something about that. If you call the courthouse and you tell them your situation, somebody will help you. Now they will. I remember I had a bad back, and I just couldn't walk that day. And Joe Aikens brought some papers out for me to sign. In the rain, he came to the car.
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, somebody will help you. And don't think you can't vote because because we're old. We get that in our head, but it's not that way. Get out and vote August the 8th. If you can get up there, somebody will help you. And embarrassing as it is, yeah. So that's all right. Daryl said she does it too. It's okay. It's okay. I got over getting embarrassed.
That's right.
I did. I'm telling you. This is the one privilege that you have in America, is to vote. We have the freedom to vote. Other countries don't necessarily have that. And we have a right to say who we want and what we want for our country. And other places, it's not necessarily. So make sure that you get out and vote August the 8th. And if it's time for a change, Dallas Lumpkin. Remember the name. I do appreciate you coming.
Yes, ma'am. I appreciate you having me.
This has been an experience. It has.
Yes, ma'am.
You'll never forget it. Good or bad, you'll never forget it.
That's right.
Dallas Lumpkin for sheriff, August the 8th. Don't forget it. This is Daryl at Daryl's Little Corner. Appreciate you tuning in. Be sure and catch the Jeter Family Program Saturday night at 7 o'clock. Tune us in again next Monday at 7 for Daryl's Little Corner. May God bless.